My brother framed me for drug dealing. My parents took his side, saying, he can't risk his career. A record won't hurt you. So I took brutal revenge. Sup Reddit. So my brother tried to frame me for drugs to save himself. And my parents told me to be the bigger person and take the fall because a record won't hurt you. They had no idea what I was going to do next. I can 31 male. Work as a cell tower technician. The guys who climb those 400-foot towers you see along highways. Good money, stupid hours, and one ironclad rule. If you pop hot on a random drug test, you're gone. No second chances. No appeals. Just gone. Look, I'm not saying I'm a saint, but I am saying that when you work a job where one dirty test means you're unemployed, homeless, and blacklisted from an entire industry, you tend to stay squeaky clean. Like the hardest thing in my system is pre-workout and the occasional energy drink when I'm pulling doubles. My brother was 27, had a finance degree, worked as a junior analyst, and spent most of his energy pretending he was already a managing director. Recently got engaged to this girl who posted pictures of her morning smoothies like she was curing cancer. My parents treated him like he'd personally invented money. Me? I was the spare. The weird one who didn't want a cubicle. The one doing fine. But it's just manual labor, you know? Everything imploded on a Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. I was at the staging yard in Nebraska, loading climbing gear into a company truck. I was checking carabiners when my site supervisor walked over. Guy named Valdez, former Marine, carried his clipboard like a weapon. His face told me everything before he opened his mouth. Need you in the office trailer. Now. I stood up. What's going on? Compliance wants to talk to you. My stomach dropped. The office trailer had a speakerphone on the table. Valdez closed the door. The voice on the speaker was corporate, female, professional. Good morning. This is Corporate Safety and Compliance. I'm calling regarding an incident report filed through our anonymous safety hotline on Monday evening at approximately 10:34 p.m. Okay, I said. What incident? The report alleges observation of impaired behavior during safety-critical work activities, slurred speech, poor motor control, erratic judgment during your last tower climb. The words landed cold. What? Company policy requires immediate action on any reasonable suspicion report involving substance use. You'll be transported to a certified testing facility within the hour for a comprehensive drug screen. You're being placed on unpaid administrative leave pending results. I didn't smoke. Didn't pop pills. The closest I came to drugs was ibuprofen for my shoulders and knees, but none of that mattered. In my world, accusation was guilt until a plastic cup said otherwise. She kept talking. You'll remain on unpaid leave pending test results. Your site credentials will be suspended. A company representative will transport you to the testing facility. Questions? Yeah. Who made the report? Slight pause. That information is confidential to protect the integrity of our safety reporting system. So it's anonymous. We take all safety concerns seriously regardless of source. Valdez spoke. I've worked with him for 3 years. Never seen anything close to this. Her response was smooth. We appreciate that feedback. But policy is policy. Corporate treats hotline reports on safety-critical roles as reasonable suspicion. Your supervisor completed the documentation checklist this morning. Valdez's jaw tightened. He'd had to tick boxes on a form, knowing it was nonsense, then send it up the chain anyway. She wrapped up. The line went dead. Valdez looked like he wanted to put his fist through the wall. This is ridiculous. Yeah. You clean? Completely. He nodded. Then the test'll clear you. Just sit tight. 30 minutes later, some kid showed up wearing a company windbreaker. He had a clipboard and nervous energy. The kid drove me 45 minutes to an occupational health clinic in silence. I was doing math in my head. I was on a project paying $68 an hour base, plus $110 per diem. I worked 6/12s, 72 hours a week. With overtime, I was clearing about $6,600 a week before taxes. One anonymous phone call had just cost me a minimum of a week's pay. Maybe my whole position on this crew. The clinic did the standard drill. The nurse walked me through the process. I asked for copies of everything. She raised an eyebrow, but printed them anyway. They sealed the sample, labeled it, and documented everything. Results in 3 to 5 business days, the nurse said. The kid drove me back to the motel where the crew was staying. Didn't say a word. Just dropped me off and left. It was 11:20 a.m. I'd been up since 4:30. I was officially benched until further notice. I sat on the motel bed and pulled out my phone. 23 missed calls. 8 from my mom, 6 from dad, and 9 from my brother. Texts, too. Most were, call me back, and we need to talk, and are you okay? But one stood out. From mom. Please answer. It's not what you think. We can explain. I stared at the screen. We can explain. Which meant they already knew what happened. Here's what I knew. Monday night, 2 days before the test, my brother had shown up at my apartment unannounced. Around 9 p.m., looking stressed. He wanted to borrow my truck. Just need to move some stuff for her bridal shower, he'd said. I'd told him no. My truck was a 2018 Silverado, and the bed had $15,000 worth of climbing gear and equipment. I didn't lend it out. Ever. He'd looked wounded. Seriously, I'm your brother. And it's my truck. Rent a U-Haul. He'd shifted tactics. Can I at least hang out for a bit? She's having one of her moments. I need space. I'd been exhausted. I had a 4 a.m. departure. Fine, I'm going to bed. Lock the door when you leave. He'd sat on my couch scrolling his phone. I'd showered, crashed. When I left for work at 3:45 a.m., he was gone. Door locked. No note. I hadn't thought about it. Now? I was thinking about it real hard. Because my truck had been in the parking lot. Unlocked because it was a gated complex. Alone with my brother for hours. I pulled up my texts and scrolled back. 3 weeks ago, he'd asked me about my drug testing schedule. How often do they actually test you? Like, is it actually random or is it on a schedule? I'd said, random means random, dumbass. That's the whole point. He'd laughed. Just wondering how they keep track of everyone. That conversation sat different now. I stared at my phone, and the rage started building. My phone buzzed. Mom again. I answered. She was already crying. Baby, are you okay? We heard what happened. How'd you hear? Your brother told us. He's so worried about you. Of course he was. Mom, I'm fine. I didn't do anything. We know, sweetheart. We know you didn't. We just want to help. Help with what? Longer pause. Come to dinner tonight. We need to talk about this as a family. She hung up before I could argue. My parents lived in one of those cookie-cutter suburbs. Beige everything. HOA-mandated lawn maintenance. My brother's BMW was in the driveway. Dad's Lexus, too. I walked in. Nobody said hi. Mom was in the kitchen stress-cleaning counters that were already clean. Dad was at the dining table with a yellow legal pad and his reading glasses. Polo shirt, slacks, problem-solver mode. My brother was on the couch, hunched over his phone, no eye contact. I stood in the doorway. All right, let's hear it. Dad looked up. Sit down. I'm good standing. He gave me that look. This is serious. Sit. I pulled out a chair. Saturday, crossed my arms. Mom turned around. Her eyes were red. She was wearing an apron even though there was no food cooking. Honey, she started, voice shaking, we need to discuss what happened. You mean the part where I got yanked off a job site and forced to take a drug test because someone filed a bogus report? That part? Dad jumped in. We know you're upset. I'm not upset, Dad. I'm unemployed without pay. There's a difference. You're on leave pending results. That's not unemployed. Same thing when you're not getting a paycheck. He waved that off. The test will clear you. That's not what we're worried about. Then what are we worried about? Heavy silence. Mom sat down across from me, folded her hands. We're worried about your brother. I laughed. Not a fun laugh. Of course you are. Dad leaned forward. He made a mistake. A serious one. But it's fixable if we handle it correctly. What mistake? More silence. Mom looked at Dad. Dad looked at my brother. Finally, Mom spoke, voice barely above a whisper. He was holding something for a friend. He panicked. He needed somewhere the cops wouldn't look if things went sideways. The words landed. So he put it in my truck. Nobody denied it. I leaned back. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. He had drugs. He was worried about getting caught. He decided the safest place to hide them was in my truck. The truck I use for work. The truck that goes through federal facility checkpoints. The truck that's part of a career with mandatory random drug testing. And then he called in a tip to get me pulled off site, probably hoping I'd get searched or the company would send security to check my vehicle. Mom was crying now. He didn't think. No kidding, he didn't think it through. Dad's voice went sharp. Watch your tone. Or what? You'll frame me harder? Nobody framed you, Dad said. I looked at my brother directly. Did you make the call? He didn't answer. Did you file the report to my company? He finally looked up. His eyes were wet. I didn't think they'd actually test you, he said, voice cracking. I thought it would just go into some system and disappear. You thought wrong. Mom reached across the table. I pulled back. He made a mistake, she said. A terrible mistake. But he's your brother. He tried to frame me. Dad shook his head. If the investigation continues, if they start asking questions about the origin of that tip, it could trace back to him. He has a career. He's engaged. He has a future that can't afford complications. And I don't? Dad didn't hesitate. Your job is physical labor. You'll find another tower to climb. He's building a professional career. He's in finance. One mark on his record and everything he's worked for disappears. There it was. Mom jumped in. Her parents are old money. They have standards. If this comes out before the wedding, they'll pull their support. We co-signed on his condo. If he loses his job, we lose the property. They weren't just protecting my brother. They were protecting their investment. So, what are you asking me to do? Dad pulled off his reading glasses, rubbed his eyes. We're asking you to take responsibility. I laughed. Responsibility for what? I didn't do anything. We know that. But if you say you did, if you tell your company the drugs were yours and it was a personal issue, then this ends. The company processes it as a policy violation, you move on to a different job, and he stays clean. You want me to confess to a crime I didn't commit. It's not a crime if there's no legal proceeding, Dad said. It's just an employment matter. Mom was sobbing. We're not asking you to go to jail. Just tell your company it was a mistake. Take the employment hit. Then we all move on. And he walks away clean. He gets a second chance, Dad corrected. I stood up. Chair scraped loud. No. Mom blinked. What? No. I'm not doing it. Dad stood too. You're being selfish. I'm being selfish? I'm the one who got set up. You're his brother. And he tried to frame me. My brother finally spoke. Voice small. Why are you being like this? I said I'm sorry. I turned to him. He wasn't sorry. He was scared. You're sorry you got caught. You're not sorry you did it. Mom stood up. Enough. Both of you. She looked at me. Please, she said, voice breaking. Please just do this for us. For your brother. Be the bigger person. The bigger person? You've always been the resilient one. The one who handles things. He needs you. He needs consequences. Dad's voice dropped. If you don't help him, we'll have to find another solution. Good luck with that. I turned to leave. Mom grabbed my arm. Where are you going? Anywhere but here. We're not finished talking. I pulled free. Yeah, we are. My brother's voice followed me. You're really going to let them ruin my life? I stopped at the door, turned back. I'm not letting anyone do anything. You ruined your own life. I'm just refusing to take the blame for it. Dad's voice sharp. You walk out that door, you're on your own. I stopped, hand on the doorknob. I've always been on my own, Dad. You just didn't notice because I never asked you for anything. I left. Behind me, Mom started wailing. Dad was saying something about stubborn and ungrateful. My brother was crying, asking what he was supposed to do now. I didn't have an answer for him. That was his problem. The first thing I did after leaving that family ambush was call a lawyer. Not HR, not a friend. A criminal defense attorney. Found one through a quick search. His voicemail said he handled drug cases and false accusations. Bingo. I left a message. He called back 20 minutes later. You retained yet? Not officially. Then let's keep this general until you sign the paperwork. What happened? So I walked him through it. The failed test. My brother showing up Monday night with his sob story. The family meeting where they all ganged up on me. The whole, just take the fall for your brother pitch. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, dead silence for maybe 3 seconds. All right, if you want me on this, sign the retainer I'm sending tonight. Until then, here's what you do. Don't talk to your family. Don't drive that truck. Screenshot anything they send you. And when the cops show up, when, not if, you say one sentence, I want my attorney present. Not, I think I need a lawyer. Not, maybe I should call someone. Those exact words. Then you shut up and call me, got it? Got it. Good. Sign that retainer. We're getting ahead of this before your idiot brother makes it worse. Signed it an hour later. $2.5 grand just to get started, but honestly, best money I ever spent. Because Wednesday night, same dang night as the family meeting, someone knocked on my motel room door. Looked through the peephole. 2 cops in uniform. One of them had his hand hovering near his belt like he expected trouble. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I opened the door halfway and stepped outside. Pulled it shut behind me. Evening. The older one spoke first. Stocky guy, late 40s, mustache that screamed, I peaked in high school football. You my name? Yeah. Got a call that you've been keeping controlled substances in a white Silverado. Work truck registered to a telecommunications company. Mind if we ask you a few questions? I want my attorney present for any questioning. The older cop's eyebrows shot up. His partner, younger guy, clean cut, shifted like I'd just said something in a foreign language. You're not under arrest, the older one said, voice all friendly now. We're just following up on a tip. I stood there, said nothing. Look, the older one tried again. If you've got nothing to hide, this'll take 2 minutes. Just want to make sure everything's cool here. Still nothing from me. The younger cop stepped in. We understand you drive a work truck. That the white Silverado in the lot? Didn't answer. Mind if we take a quick look in your truck? He asked it like he was asking to borrow a lighter. No. The older cop cocked his head. No, we can't look, or no, you don't mind. I don't consent to any searches. The younger cop shot the older one a look. His jaw tightened. Sir, if you're not involved in anything illegal, there's no reason to refuse. I'm not answering questions without my attorney. The older cop let out this long breath through his nose. Annoyed. Good. All right, don't leave the area. He caught himself. We'd appreciate if you stay available in case we need to follow up. Am I being detained? No. Cool. Going back inside then. Opened the door, stepped through, closed it. Locked it. Stood there with my back pressed against the door, heart hammering like I'd just run a marathon. Tried to remember their badge numbers. Couldn't. Too focused on keeping my voice steady and not saying the wrong thing. Got a look at the older one's nameplate, but the porch light was garbage. Didn't matter. I had the time, the description, what they said. Could hear them outside talking. Couldn't make out the words, but the vibe was definitely irritated. About a minute later, footsteps walking away. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. Rang 4 times. They already came? He answered. Yep, 2 uniforms. Said they got a call about drug activity. Asked to search my truck. I said no. Told them I wanted my attorney present. They bounced. Perfect. You did everything exactly right. Did they say who tipped them off? Nah, but we both know it was my brother. Probably. Doesn't matter though. What matters is you didn't give them squat. No consent, no statements, no explaining yourself. They'll either come back with a warrant or they won't. If they do, we handle it then. So what now? Same as before. Don't talk to your family. Don't drive that truck. Document everything. I'm sending you a form. Write down everything that just went down. Time, names, badge numbers if you caught them. Exactly what they said. Exactly what you said. Email it to me tonight. All right. And listen, your brother just took this from a family mess to attempted criminal framing. That's a huge escalation. He's panicking, and panicked people do really dumb things. We're gonna stay ahead of it, but you gotta stay sharp. No heroics, no confrontations, just do what I tell you. Will do. Good. Send me that write-up. I'll hit you up tomorrow. Click. Sat down on the bed and started typing. Time, 8:47 p.m. 2 uniforms, 1 older, 1 younger. What they said, what I said. Everything. Finished and emailed it. Police contact, Wednesday 8:47 p.m. Then just sat there in the dark, phone in my hand. My brother wasn't just trying to save himself anymore. He was trying to burn me. And he was sloppy about it. Called the cops before he had his story straight. Gave them just enough to send uniforms but not enough for a warrant. Sloppy and strategic. The worst combo. But he didn't count on one thing. I didn't panic. Didn't let them in. Didn't explain. Didn't hand over anything. Did exactly what my lawyer told me to. And now I had documentation. A paper trail. A criminal defense attorney already 10 steps ahead. My brother wanted to play this game? Fine. But we weren't playing on his terms anymore. Tuesday morning, my company's lab results came back. HR called. Same woman from before. Your test results are negative across all panels. You're cleared for immediate return to duty. When's the next rotation? Valdez's crew has a Montana site starting Monday. You're back on the roster. What about the report? It's been classified as unfounded. No disciplinary action on your record. She paused. I'm also required to inform you that retaliation against anyone who files a safety report, even an unfounded one, is a violation of company policy and grounds for immediate termination. There it was, the legal CYA. Understood. I wasn't planning retaliation, I was planning documentation. Big difference. Your credentials will be reactivated by the end of business Thursday. You'll have full access by Monday morning. Thanks. She hung up. Crisis over. Mostly. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes, staring at my phone. Clean test results. Job secured. Record clean. My brother had tried to destroy me and failed. But he was still out there. Still dealing. Still using my truck as his stash spot for all I knew. I pulled up the non-emergency number for the local police. Hit call. Police department. How can I help you? I need to report drug possession. I have specific information about someone who may be transporting controlled substances. Okay, what's your name? I gave it to her. And your callback number? This one. Who are you reporting? My brother. What makes you believe he has controlled substances? He admitted to me he's been stashing drugs in my vehicle without my knowledge. He also admitted he made an anonymous report to my employer to get me drug tested when things got hot. There was typing on her end. Do you know what he drives? Silver Audi A4. I have the plate number. Go ahead with the plate. I rattled it off. She made me repeat it. Do you know where he is right now? I'm not with him. I'm at my apartment. But he usually leaves his condo around this time and heads downtown to his office. Route 7 is his normal way in. Have you seen drugs in his car or on his person? No. I'm going off what he told me. I'm calling because he tried to push this onto me and I want it documented. Okay, we'll have an officer follow up. If we need a formal statement, someone will contact you. Stay available at this number. All right, she hung up. I didn't know if that went anywhere or if it just got filed into some black hole. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Unknown number. This is Officer Martinez with the police department. Am I speaking with the person who called about your brother? Yeah. All right. We located a silver Audi matching the plate you provided. We conducted a traffic stop near the downtown exit after observing a moving violation. My stomach tightened. During contact, the driver showed signs consistent with impairment. We requested a K9 unit. The dog alerted on the vehicle. I didn't say anything. Didn't trust my voice. We located suspected controlled substances inside the vehicle, along with items consistent with distribution. He was arrested and transported for booking. Okay. Because of the impairment indicators, we're also requesting a blood draw as part of the DUI drug process. You may be contacted by a prosecutor or an officer for a statement, since your information helped initiate the contact. Got it. One more thing. Don't let anyone pressure you to change your story or not cooperate. If they do, document it and call us. Understood. We appreciate the call. We hung up. I sat there on my couch, staring at nothing. The rage I'd been holding back finally broke through. Not explosive, quiet, cold. I opened a soda, sat on my balcony, watched the sun go down. Around 8 p.m., my phone started blowing up. I turned my phone face down and left it on the counter. 20 minutes later, someone was pounding on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole. Both of them. Mom and Dad. Mom's face was red and blotchy. Dad looked like he wanted to break the door down. I opened it. Dad pushed past me into the apartment before I could say anything. Mom followed, already crying. What the hell did you do? Dad's voice was shaking. Rage or panic, couldn't tell. I reported a crime. You called the cops on your own brother? I called the cops on someone who tried to frame me for drug possession. He just happens to be my brother. Mom grabbed my arm. They're saying he had controlled substances in his car. They're saying he's a dealer. This is insane. There has to be a mistake. There's no mistake. He told me himself. He's been dealing for months. Dad stepped closer. You need to fix this. No. Tell them it's yours. Tell them you asked him to hold it. Tell them anything. I stared at him. You want me to confess to a felony I didn't commit? We co-signed on his condo. If he gets convicted, we lose everything. That's not my problem. Mom's voice went high and desperate. Please, please, baby, you don't understand what this means. They're saying bail could be as high as $75,000. We'd need $7,500 just to get him out. We don't have that kind of money, Liquid. We need you to help us. I'm not bailing him out. He's your brother. He tried to destroy my career. Dad's face went red. You think you're better than him? I think not dealing drugs makes me smarter, yeah. We raised you better than this. You raised me to cover for people who screw me over? Because I missed that lesson. Mom was full-on sobbing now. We'll lose the condo. We'll lose everything. You don't understand. We put our retirement into that down payment. If he can't make the payments, the bank takes it. We're ruined. Then you made a bad investment. Dad grabbed my shoulder. Hard. You're going to help him. I shoved his hand off. Get out. We're not leaving until... Get out of my apartment. Mom tried one more time. At least talk to the police. Tell them he made a mistake. I'm telling them the truth. Dad's voice dropped low. If you testify against him, you're dead to us. Good. Makes it easier. He stared at me like he'd never seen me before. Then he turned and walked out. Mom stood there for another few seconds, mascara running down her face, looking at me like I just killed someone. I don't even know who you are anymore, she whispered. I'm the guy who doesn't take the fall for other people's nonsense. That's who I am. She left. I closed the door, locked it, put the chain on. Just felt done. Over the next 3 weeks, I systematically cut every financial tie I had to my parents. I removed them from my phone plan. They'd been on my family plan for 3 years. I'd been covering $160 a month without thinking about it. I stopped paying their home security system, $65 a month for the last 2 years. I canceled the streaming services they'd been using. All gone. The electric bill for their house that had somehow ended up in my name 3 years ago, when they temporarily needed help, I called the utility company and had it transferred back to them. I didn't announce any of this. I just stopped. And then I got contacted by the prosecutor's office. My brother's case was moving forward. They needed me to testify about the timeline, the access to my truck, the family meeting where they asked me to confess. I met with the assistant DA, told the truth, provided my documentation, the screenshots, the contemporaneous notes I'd written immediately after the family meeting, the independent test results, the call logs showing when I'd reported him. My brother's defense attorney tried to paint me as vindictive, as someone with a grudge against his successful younger brother. The prosecutor shut that down immediately, pointed to the drug tests, the timeline, the physical evidence from the traffic stop. His attorney tried a different angle during my deposition. Isn't it true you refused to help your brother when he made a mistake? I refused to confess to a crime I didn't commit. That's different. But you knew he was struggling. I knew he was dealing drugs and trying to frame me for it. Yeah, the attorney didn't have a response. 6 weeks later, my brother took a plea, avoided real prison time, but caught a felony, probation, and the kind of record that sticks like gum to a boot. His fiancée had left him the day he got arrested. Last I heard through the family grapevine, she was already engaged to some investment banker in Chicago. Someone without a felony record. My parents lost the condo. Without his income, they couldn't make the payments on the co-signed loan. The bank foreclosed. They had to take out a second mortgage on their own house to cover his legal bills. 3 months after my brother's sentencing, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Unknown. This is your mother. I had to get a new phone because we couldn't afford the plan anymore. Please call me. We need to talk. I didn't respond. She called from that number. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. I deleted it without listening. 2 weeks later, my aunt called. The same aunt who told me I did the right thing. Your parents are in trouble, she said. Real trouble. Okay. They're behind on their mortgage. The second mortgage payments are killing them. Your dad's talking about declaring bankruptcy. That's unfortunate. They need help. They needed help 3 months ago. They chose my brother instead. My aunt sighed. I know what they did was wrong. They didn't just do something wrong. They asked me to confess to a felony to protect their investment. I know. And I told them they were out of their minds. But they're still your parents. Genetically, sure. Long pause. Your mom's been picking up extra shifts at the hospital. She's 62. She can barely stand after a full shift. Then she should have thought about that before asking me to destroy my career. I get it. I do. I just wanted you to know where things stand. Appreciate the update. We hung up. 4 months after that, they all showed up at my apartment. Not separately. Together. Like they'd planned it. I was home on a rare weekend off when the gate buzzer rang. Security. You have visitors. Your parents and your brother. I almost told security to turn them away. But then I thought about it. They drove all the way here. They coordinated schedules. This was going to be good. Let them through. 5 minutes later, there was a knock on my door. I opened it. All 3 of them standing there. Mom, Dad, my brother. Mom looked like she'd aged 10 years. Dad's Lexus was gone. They'd pulled up in some beat-up Honda Civic that had to be 15 years old. My brother looked thin, hollow, like someone who'd spent 6 months on probation, realizing nobody was hiring felons. Can we come in? Mom asked, voice already shaking. I stepped aside. They filed in. Nobody sat. This wasn't a social visit. Dad cleared his throat. We came to apologize. I leaned against the kitchen counter, crossed my arms. Okay, apologize? Mom started crying immediately. We're so sorry. What we asked you to do was wrong. We were scared. We weren't thinking clearly. You were thinking clearly. You knew exactly what you were asking me to do. Dad jumped in. We made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But we're your family. We're asking you to forgive us. Forgive you for what? For trying to ruin my career? For asking me to confess to a felony? Which part? My brother spoke for the first time. I know I messed up. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I've been through hell. I've had time to think about everything. I'm different now. You're different because you got caught. His face crumpled. That's not fair. You keep using that word. Nothing about this situation is fair. Mom stepped forward, reaching for my arm. I pulled back. Please, she said. We need your help. We're going to lose the house. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Your father's retirement fund is gone. We used it all for his legal bills and the condo payments. Sounds like you made some bad investments. Dad's jaw clenched. This isn't a joke. You're right. It's not. It's consequences. We're your parents. We raised you. We fed you. We put a roof over your head for 18 years. and I've been on my own ever since. Never asked you for a dime. Mom was sobbing now. We don't have anyone else to turn to. The bank won't work with us. We need around $47,000 to avoid foreclosure. We'll lose everything. You already lost everything. You just haven't accepted it yet. My brother moved closer. I'll pay you back, I swear. Once I'm back on my feet, you're a convicted felon with no job. You're not getting back on your feet. I'll find something. You'll find minimum wage work if you're lucky. And even that's going to be hard with a drug conviction. Dad's voice went cold. So that's it? You're just going to watch us lose our home? I'm living my life. You're the ones who showed up here. Mom grabbed my hand before I could pull away. Please, I'm begging you. We'll sign papers. We'll put it in writing. We'll pay you back with interest. You can't afford interest. You can't afford the principal. You're broke. She sat down right there on my floor, just collapsed into herself, crying. I looked down at her, then at Dad, who was staring at the wall, then at my brother, who looked like he wanted to disappear. Get up, Mom. She didn't move, just kept crying. Get up! She stood slowly, wiping her face with her hands. I walked to my desk, pulled out my checkbook. If they tried to spin this later, I wanted something in writing they couldn't twist. I wrote a check, put family assistance on the memo line, took a photo with my phone before I even ripped it out. I handed it to Mom. She looked at it. Her face went white. $1? That's my contribution to your situation. $1. Because you're right, you did raise me for 18 years. So here's $1 for your trouble. Now you can say I helped. Dad's face went red. You smug. Don't. You don't get to be angry. You came here begging and I gave you what I thought you deserved. $1. That's the value I place on people who tried to destroy my life to save their investment. Mom was staring at the check like it might change if she looked long enough. My brother's voice was quiet. We drove 4 hours to get here. Then you wasted 8 hours round trip. Dad stepped forward. You know what? We don't need your money. We'll figure it out ourselves. No, you won't. You've been riding his supposed success for years. You co-signed his condo because you wanted to brag about it. You paid his legal bills because you were protecting your own reputation. You didn't come here for help. You came here because you finally realized nobody else is going to bail you out. Mom crumpled the check, threw it at me. It bounced off my chest. I hope you're happy, she said, voice breaking. I hope you feel good about yourself watching your family suffer. I sleep great, actually. Full 8 hours. No guilt, no stress. We're sorry, she screamed. How many times do we have to say it? You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry it didn't work. There's a difference. My brother moved toward the door. This was a mistake. We shouldn't have come. Finally, something we agree on. Dad followed him, stopped at the door, turned back. When we lose the house, when your mother and I are living in some apartment barely making rent, that's on you. No, Dad, that's on you. You made the choices. I'm just not paying for them. You're going to regret this. The only thing I regret is not cutting you off sooner. He left. My brother followed. Mom stood there for another moment, staring at me like I was a stranger. I don't even recognize you anymore, she said. Good. The person you knew was your backup plan. I'm not that person anymore. She walked out. I closed the door behind them, picked up the crumpled check from the floor, smoothed it out, took a picture of it, saved it to my phone under receipts. My phone buzzed an hour later. Text from Mom's new number. Mom, you're making a huge mistake. We're family. Family helps family. I typed back one sentence. Me. Family doesn't frame family for felonies. I blocked the number. Then I blocked Dad's number. Then I blocked my brother's. 3 months later, my aunt called again. They lost the house, she said. They're moving into a 2-bedroom apartment in a cheaper area. Your mom's working full-time at the hospital. Your dad's doing contract work where he can find it. Okay. I thought you should know. Thanks for the update. We hung up. My brother tried adding me on social media from a new account. I blocked it. Eventually, they all stopped trying. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.